This is Julie Phelan, and I'm here with Daniel Lee, who is part of the U.S. Census. He's a partnership specialist, and I'm here at the offices of Your Home Sold Guaranteed. You can see there behind me. And Daniel, in the Census, is doing a partnership with Rudy and with Your Home Sold Guaranteed. So tell us a little bit about that, Daniel.
Yeah, sure. So I'm representing the U.S. Census Bureau for the upcoming 2020 census. Our motto is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. And so basically what that means is that we're trying to get a population count of everybody in the United States, particularly here in California, because we have such a large population, the largest in all the 50 states. So therefore, we need to get an accurate population count because we have a number of things that are on the line. The first one
Tell
being,
us, what?
Yes, the first one is it's about money, right? So we have
that money, we
need that money, right? Money. And that money is coming from the federal government. It's $675 billion per year.
With a B.
With a B. $675 billion per year that's going to be allocated to the different states, and that's going to happen per year for the next decade, right? And so that will be determined by this population count. So the more accurate the count, the more fair share of that $675 billion California will receive. And definitely, because we are the largest state in the nation, we definitely need a larger share of that money. Second, the census is about representation and power. Basically, the House seats in Congress can shift due to the census count. So, for instance, if the population of California increases, which it has, then there's a possibility that we could actually increase our congressional House seats here. However, if we don't get an accurate count, there's a possibility that that number will stay the same or that it might be reduced. So in 2000, from 2000 to 2010, we actually didn't see an increase in our congressional House seats. It just remained the same, even though our population had increased by a significant margin. So we don't want that to happen in 2020. So basically, we're trying to partner with all the localities here, organizations, churches, realtors, just to promote the census, get the word out so that we can get everybody counted.
Now, I understand that some of it I've been reading and hearing and stuff in the news that it was an undercount partly because of people hiding from census takers.
Yes, and that's one of the challenges that we have been facing, particularly with the multi-ethnic communities, the immigrant communities. A lot of language barriers were a cause of this, mistrust with the government, obviously. And also there was that controversial incident that happened in Washington D.C. But I'll leave that up to your guests to know what it is. We'll talk about that in another episode. But so that's the reason why we're hiring actually multilingual partnership specialists to go out into the communities to partner with these localities because they're the ones that have the trust of the people. We're just partnership specialists. We can't reach everybody by ourselves.
Are you multilingual?
I speak Korean fluently. I have a basic understanding of Spanish, I think, up until age 4 or 5. So I only had 4 years of Spanish in high school. But
so you'll be going into the Korean community?
Yes, that has been one of my communities. But not just that. Partner specialists are basically, in my case, I work out of the LA Regional Center. And so LA County is fair game. So any place in LA County, they need a partnership specialist, boom, I can go there. So that means I can go to events, to table for them. I can be interviewed on a show like this to speak about basic information about the census. I can distribute flyers and have our partners distribute them for us. We can also just set up meetings and we can use venues that are provided to us to explain the census to a bigger crowd.
What is the purpose of these partnerships? And being a partnership specialist is going to these different these businesses or events for what? Right.
So it's basically relationship building with the community so that they can go out into the localities and the regions and be able to tell all the individuals that they know about the census, and so that instead of the government's voice going out and telling everyone to take the census, it's actually the trusted person of that community or that leader of that community that can help people get involved in the census. Another thing that I have to mention about the money issue is that this is money that will be going to fund our WIC checks, Medi-Cal, Medicare.
What checks?
Yes, WIC checks, women and children. It's a social program funded by the states that is trickled down by the federal government that helps women and young children who are of low income.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like
one of the things that you have to realize when you're doing something like this with an interview, it's so easy for anybody who's talking about their specific field to get you know the lingo, and you know what you're talking about and other things, and you're saying this a lot.
Yeah,
so I'm just going to ask you to spell things out a little bit more.
Sure. And so those are programs that are funded by the government. So almost any sort of social or public service. It actually is funded by this large sum of money that trickles down to the states, to the localities, to the communities that we live in. And that includes things like libraries, school programs such as after-school programs, free lunch programs. It also funds school supplies. It also funds our hospitals. It can also be used. It can also be used to fix up our roads. We have so many roads that need so much fixing up.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Exactly, and so
that's a money issue.
It's a money issue, yeah, and we need federal funds for that. Otherwise, the state has to step in, or the localities have to step in. So it is a significant amount of money. So ultimately, the census is really about money. It's about power and about our representation. And so if we are able to increase the number of House seats in California, then we have more voice in Washington, D.C. to make the laws that govern the entire nation. And thirdly, the census is important because it'll determine redistricting, right? And we know what redistricting means. It means the differences of sending our kids to a different school. It means different zip codes, area codes, you name it. So it has a significant impact on us. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of different things involved in it.
There's a whole lot of things, and most people do not realize that. A lot of people, when they get involved with anything in the government, it's usually voting related, or go out and get the vote out. But the beauty of the U.S. Census is that anybody can get involved. This means if you are a U.S. citizen, if you are a non-citizen, if you are even an undocumented person, or even if you are homeless, right? If you are a young child, you can get involved and participate in the census. And actually,
how do you do that besides just being counted?
Yes, so what happens is on March 12th, we're going to be sending out postcards to each of the households, the people that are living here in the state of California, and they will receive a notice saying, hey, please participate in our census this year, and they'll give you a website that you can go to do it online. The beauty of this census is that it's going to be available online, either by phone number, or you can do it by traditional paper format. But we prefer the online or by phone because it's so much easier.
Yeah. Probably easier to tabulate.
Exactly, right. And the final last resort would be we send out an enumerator who goes knocking on the doors and tries to get the questionnaires all filled out.
That's a fancy name for a person who counts people.
Exactly,
right?
just it's a name of someone who goes out and knocks on doors and counts the population.
Yeah, I actually did that, way back when in 1990 or so.
Okay, great.
There was a census then, I had to do that in Chicago, but they did it in winter, and I don't know why.
Well,
it was
kind
of brutal because I had to go door to door, knock on the doors, and people were not that afraid to talk to people then and open the door, but I still encountered that a lot.
Right, yeah.
But you had to do that, take their name and address, and obviously the address, number of people, the names and people. There were a lot more questions than 9 though, and people were reluctant to answer.
There were a lot of questions, and so this year,
it was a long process for
this upcoming
3
year,
months or 4 months.
Yeah, and so that's a very good point because this upcoming year we are simplifying the process by a large margin. There's only going to be 9 questions this time, very basic questions. We're not going to go into all these details. Just it's going to be questions about how many people are in your household, what your relationship is, your sex, your age, your ethnic background, just things of that nature. And online, you can actually fill up to about, I think it was 99 people in your household if you live in a mega mansion, I guess. And so we want everybody counted, and especially in this area in Rosemead, further down south in El Monte, South El Monte, Pico Rivera, we have a lot of immigrants here. And further above in Temple City, in Arcadia, we have a huge Mandarin-speaking population, and a lot of those folks don't really realize what the census is or what it is to get involved in.
Imagine that you need some people then who do speak all these different languages.
Yes, and that's why we're hiring partnership specialists.
I was going to ask. Now you are hiring, and you're also hiring enumerators, right?
Yes, enumerators, field representatives, IT specialists, clerks, you name it. This is like a campaign for the census.
For how long? For like 1 year?
So it wouldn't exceed a year because all the counts have to come in. So we start counting on April Census Day, which is April 1st. That is the Census Day. Instead of April Fool's Day, it's the Census Day. And that will continue on until the end of July. And so anything in between then, if you can get all the information in by then it's great. But starting from Census Day is when we actually start officially collecting that data.
Okay. But you're hiring now. Also,
but we're hiring now. We're hiring now.
Paying?
And we're already
Let's
paying.
Get to the bottom line.
We're starting from $17 an hour, and it goes up to the late 20s. Yeah.
That's
the upper
great.
20s, I should say. And so
full-time and part-time?
Full-time, part-time, flexible hours. So you can definitely go into 2020 Census census.gov/jobs, and you can just put your information there, and someone from the census will contact you.
Yeah, there you go. There's a pretty good side hustle. If you want to do that and have a side gig, paying pretty well, I'd say go for that.
I would say go for that too.
2020census.org/jobs.
/jobs. And if you want an official federal job like me with as a partnership specialist, you can just go into usajobs.gov, and you can apply through the federal system level, which is a different process, and you can become partnership specialist like myself.
Yeah, government jobs usually have decent benefits. I don't know if these
decent benefits. Yeah, very good pay for this particular census. We are hiring aggressively because it's such an important part of our democracy. And like I said, because anybody can get involved in the census, it's a great way for people who even aren't citizens to come close to really participating in what the U.S. democracy really entails.
And it is really the point is to count every person, right?
Yes, every person that's living in the United States. So
black, white, doesn't matter on the race, doesn't matter on the immigration status, doesn't matter the age. So
as
even
long as
babies?
Yes, babies as well, and that's another good point is because in the former interview we talked about helping children. Well, the most undercounted population was actually those that were 5 years and younger in the 2010 census. Yes, in the 2010, I guess just people didn't realize that the children had to be counted. I guess adults didn't get that information properly, and so they just kind of left a lot of our children out, which is a big chunk. Yeah, which are teenagers now, which was a big chunk of money, and so it's absolutely critical that we reach those children, and so that's why I'm actually going out to a lot of the localities, reaching out to the school districts, and reaching out to institutes here and academies, reaching out to like I said, the WIC program, the Women and Children that receive those funding from the government that's distributed to small children. Meeting with hospitals. We had a children's hospital that was just here, and they need to be notified too. So
we've actually talked a lot on the show about senior centers and board and care homes and assisted living centers too.
Yes, and so the census funding does actually help senior centers as well. It can also help folks in the veteran community as well. So I'm also I haven't reached out to them just yet, but I will start reaching out to veterans associations, American Legions.
They certainly have a lot of different community centers and different,
Yes.
seniors have that.
Yes.
The seniors, the veterans, they have their own organizations and community centers.
They do. And we do have a lot of veterans that are actually working for the census right now. Again, it's a great side job. If you're retired, it's a great side hustle to get you back into. Yes, and some of our best partnership specialists actually happen to be from the senior community because they have so much clout in their respective communities. And so everybody keeps reaching out to them to come speak and come get involved in events. So those are some ways you can help us. Being on a radio show program like this is a great way to promote the census. Also, if your community is holding any events, you guys have any sort of a venue that we could use, we could go speak there, we could table at your outdoor events, we can come by, distribute flyers, and you guys can also distribute those flyers for us. If you guys have language skills, you could use that to help us on our behalf. Thank you.
Anybody out there who's an influencer, or who is another YouTube person, or who has any kind of a networking group, maybe a real estate network, an investing club, some kind of a meetup, definitely then Daniel would be available, or somebody else from his office, could come talk to your group too.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Can I leave my phone number or anything? Or?
Yeah, sure. You can.
Yeah. So if you would like to reach out with the census, my email address is daniel.lee with a L-E-E at 2020census.gov, G-O-V, and my phone number is 725-666-3245. We'll be in touch.
Again, one more time.
Okay.
The phone number.
The phone number, yes. It's 725-666-3245. Now, that area code is Nevada, Las Vegas. I don't know why they gave me that number, but I am not from Las Vegas.
It doesn't matter.
Just to be sure, yeah.
And if you actually know of a community that is looking for somebody that needs somebody who is multilingual, like he said, Mandarin community or the Korean community, Hispanic community, Tagalog, we have so many different people and so many different ethnicities in California and communities that they actually have through the census lots of people who speak these different languages, but also are looking for people who speak those different languages, I imagine.
Oh, and thank you for reminding me, because speaking of languages, the online form is actually available in 12 languages. Actually, all the ones that you mentioned actually are available there.
And like when you see a hospital.
Exactly. And if that's not enough, then we do have a a language glossary. So if a person comes knocking on your door, you don't speak the languages that we have available, you can pick and choose the language from the glossary, and we can follow up and send someone that can speak that language to fill out the census with you. So I think the really hard to reach languages, I think maybe Farsi, something very Middle Eastern, that we can also provide through the language glossary as well.
Oh, that's really amazing. So this doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with money coming to your community, money for your schools, money for your neighborhoods, and don't think that it's not important to be counted. It's always important to be counted in this democracy. And you have to do this every 10 years, right? And this is going to last how many months? Until everybody's counted?
Yes, until everybody's counted. So we're trying to get ahead.
April to
Yes.
October or something?
Yeah, so April to about the end of July will be probably the final. About the end of July will be probably the final batch.
Big push.
The big push. But yeah, April 1st is Census Day. We are competing with a lot of different voices. We have a lot of things happening in 2020. The elections are happening, state, local elections are happening, but the census is also happening too. And this is very, very important, almost as much.
Are forms available now?